episode of Ladies Who Lead is brought to you by Dream Realm Pictures. Dream Realm Pictures isn't just a production company. They're creative partners in bringing bold visions to life, whether it's film, video, or branded storytelling. They specialize in crafting cinematic experiences that resonate and inspire. Founded by our very own first supporter and sponsor, Tyler, Dream Realm Pictures believes in amplifying authentic voices just like the ones you hear on this podcast. Want to tell your story with some soul and style? Visit dreamrealmpictures.com and let them help you make movie magic. Dream big, dream real, dream realm. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Ladies Who Lead. I'm Alex.
I'm Meryl.
And we are so excited you're joining us to kick off this new adventure, a comfy space where leadership, life, family, and community all come together. So I think that we should probably start by helping you get to know us, because this is something we're really excited about. We love spending this time together and we want to bring you along with us.
Absolutely. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? It's something we get asked a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you, we'll both take a second to introduce ourselves, and then maybe we'll interview each other a little bit and ask a couple questions.
Sounds
to
like
help
a plan.
our people get to know us. Meryl, you go first. You're our mayor pro tem.
I am the mayor pro tem. I am up for re-election right now. Luckily, no one was running against me. Thanks.
Meryl, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody that's here with us.
Yeah. So I am Meryl. I'm a mom first, a teacher, public servant. I am lots of different things. And we thought we'd come together in this podcast to basically share all the things that we are.
One of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast is because we found this friendship through community service, and that we had blossomed into a really supportive, fun, really healthy friendship that I feel like a lot of women need. And that we were both stepping into something new. We still do this now. And that we've had so many conversations about what life is like as a mom, a wife, someone who's stepping up in her community, and then living real life everywhere else too.
And I will say this friendship started as basically a contract.
Yep.
Signed and sealed, and
Yep.
but it came out of serving the public and wanting to serve our community. But how do you do that when you have so many other different things going on in your life? But we made a commitment to want to do that for each other.
Where did this idea even come from? Because we have so much fun. I
The
will say
podcast or friendship or what idea?
The idea for the podcast. So we have such a fun friendship, but that it's such a real supportive friendship, and that we were in a women's luncheon at one point, sitting together, listening to a speaker, and she was just talking about what you need in your life to be successful, some of the things that you need to put together to be successful as women in business. And then we were listening to her and we thought,
we're like, we do these things already. We do
Yeah,
this. And
we
I
do
remember we
this.
were in the parking lot after that day. We're like, we need to do a podcast because we do these things. We are supportive of each other. We're loyal to each other
without being competitive.
without being competitive. And we're very different. It's another thing, but there's room for both of us to do it. And so even though we started as a contract, I will say it was
basically-
friendship out of a
it's some sort
contract.
It's some sort of friendship version of an NDA, because we were
Yes.
going into a
100%.
friendship as people working to be elected officials or as elected officials. And we were like, if I'm going to be real with you, you can't be crazy.
You can't hold this against me
hold
later.
this against me later if I'm
when
going to
I
be my
run
real
for higher
you.
office.
Which I keep saying, whenever one of us runs for president, we can't have.
But I remember the first day I really met you.
Okay, tell me about it.
Yes, I was campaigning outside of town hall, and you basically said, I am never going to run for office, so I'm going to support you 100%. But here we are.
Yeah.
We're both on council together.
Yes. A year after I supported her, and which you worked really hard to get elected, but a year after I supported her and said, I'm glad you're doing it because it could never be me. I'm not interested at all. 1 year later, I was getting sworn into council. That didn't work out too well. We realized that there's a whole side of leadership that doesn't get talked about, especially with women. And that's the real moments, the messy moments, the things that make us human. And that I feel like there is a lot of information out there about how to hustle, how to grind, how to be a boss babe, but that none of it felt real to our life. And
Of like, how do you just show up?
Yeah.
Even if you're not feeling 100%, I can tell you right now today, I'm like, I have so many things going on. I am not 100% to show up, but here I am, and
You do
here
it
we
anyway.
are because we have to anyways. I can't tell you the endless amount of times I'm running from a baseball game or a football game to an event or to a council meeting. And it's okay. That's the biggest thing I've had to accept. It's okay to be more than just one thing.
Yep. I remember another event that we went to, and that you literally came from baseball and she had to switch from maybe a little bit sweaty, ball cap wearing,
A lot
baseball
sweaty, disgusting,
mom,
gross.
baseball mom to presentable mayor pro tem of our town. And that you did it and you showed up and nobody would have been the wiser. It just, we get to be the friends that know better. So
No one knows that I was missing
Yeah.
a button or I was
No
all
one
sweaty.
knows.
I'm there and we showed
Yeah.
up. And I think that's what we really want to talk about and really touch on is it's okay. You don't have to be 100% ready to do it. You just have to jump in and show up, be there.
And that another thing that came up, which we'll get into a little more like just who we are and about our lives. But one of the things that also prompted this that I know that we've talked about is we were talking to, I was having a conversation with a lady in our community who I wanted her to step up for something in our town. And I just thought she would be great for it. And she is arguably more experienced than me.
I remember you telling me about
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And that she said, I don't think that I'm experienced enough for this. I don't think that I can do it. And then I was like, girl, how?
Like, you are
Why-
overqualified.
Yeah, you're overqualified. What are you
Jump
talking
on
about?
board.
And that I realized that, so we're both raising boys, which we'll get into, but that I realized that as women, we don't have enough people telling us, girl, freaking get out there and just do it. Because the messaging has gotten so confused about what the heck are we supposed to be as women? What is supposed to be our priority? How do we get to be
And-
all of the things?
Exactly. I think that's one thing you've done for me, being able to do a lot of these events together and life together and now dinners together and just fun things together is you're a cheerleader there being like, no, you're awesome and you can show up and you can do this. And I think sometimes it takes hearing that from someone else that you respect to be like, oh, okay, I can do this. And just like the person you're talking about, no, jump in. You're more than qualified. You're
Which we won't say her name, but we'll send this to her and she'll know who we're talking about.
100%.
So I will say, this is what we want this podcast to be. This is what we want you to get from this. We love this friendship that we have, and we want you to be a part of it. We want you to have a seat on the couch with us, pour a glass of wine, make a cup of coffee, whatever it is, and join in on this adventure with us, because you are capable of so much more than you're doing.
And whether that's jumping into a council position, jumping into PTA, jumping into a new job, volunteering at school, anything, do it.
Yeah.
Jump in, even if you don't feel 100% there.
Yeah. Because you're ready. And that's what the thing is, that you're never going to have a perfect time. Tell me a little bit about you and then we'll go in. Tell me about your life, you and your boys and your whole
My
situation.
life. All right. My life.
Start on the day you were born.
The day I was born. Wait, I don't want to talk about that. That was a long time ago.
Did they have TV?
So, they had radio, Alex, no TV yet. I have two boys. I have a junior in high school and a sixth grader, and I can't believe we're even there. We're super active. I have a really supportive husband at home too. While we talk about being so supportive of women, we also don't want to leave out that we can do that because we have supportive men at home who are allowing us the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
Not the freedom, but
Yeah.
allowing us the space to do it and are supportive
that
of it as
having
well.
somebody that really supports.
So I don't
what
think
you
like
have
being
doing.
supportive of women means, oh no, no men. It's
Yeah.
not that.
And because we've talked about that one of the ways that you get to act in real life, one of the ways that you get to actually be an empowered wife, mom, badass woman is by having strong, badass men in your corner.
You have to have a team.
And for some reason, it's become faux pas to say that, because I'm not allowed to make it seem like I need a man for anything. And I guess maybe I don't, but I don't want to not have one. I love having my husband. I'm raising 4 boys. Between the two of us,
Yeah,
we're raising
it's
6
a
men.
partnership. It's a
Yeah.
partnership. And there's a give and take in it. And it's all hands on deck to help make it work. And so I wouldn't be able to do the things that I am able to do without the support at home. That is for sure. But more about me. My dad was a fireman growing up. My mom was an entrepreneur. And my dad just always really instilled in us that if you're not helping the community and you're not putting in your part and doing your part, like you don't have any complaints. Like you always have to be doing something to help people. And I'm a teacher. That's my profession. And so growing up that way just always stuck with me. And after my dad retired from the fire department, he was on city council and then became the mayor of our town in California, which I'm from, Simi Valley. And he was the mayor there. And I learned so much about how important local politics actually is. And again, but always, what are you doing? If you have a complaint, what are you doing to help that complaint? If you see a need, what are you doing to fill that need? So that always stuck with us. My husband was a police officer for 16 years. He is a retired detective now. Now he's gone private, but we've always been serving the community. And so when this opportunity came up to continue to do so here in Texas, it was a no-brainer. I want to do it. And again, it was men that I met that encouraged me to do. I met the mayor of Northlake at the time, and then another council member that really pushed me and said, we need you.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm like, nope, not ready, but are we ever ready?
I think one thing we'd probably like to make clear in our podcast, or maybe not make clear, but just express at some point, that you can be a badass, empowered, can do all the things, woman, without discounting the role that men have to play in your life. I know that the rise for both of us in our elected capacities has been primarily supported by men and primarily not supported by women. Like
I
our
agree with
biggest-
that 100%. 100% agree with that.
Some of our
Yes.
biggest and most vocal
Yes.
critics
have been women.
women.
Yes, which is sad because, and I was hesitant at first when I met you, because what are your intentions? I feel so fortunate that we have the friendship that we do, that we have truly lived that support that people talk about. Women empowering women, where you're like, does this really happen? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And it can happen. It should happen more.
A lot of times when I see people doing let me empower and lift up other women, I feel like a lot of times it ends up being shallow, because what they want to say is let me lift up and empower women that are going to say and do exactly what I do, as I do. And then I think that's a cop out.
And let me tell you, I went back to the classroom full time this year. Talk about empowering women. My teammates show up every day, empower each other to do the best we possibly can. Incredible women that I work with. And so that right there, it means is an example of that it's out there.
Yeah.
But can we talk about you for a second, Alex?
Okay.
I know you hate that. But we were going to start this a while ago, this podcast. And then you decided we needed some more content.
Yes. Okay. So as we're recording this, it is April 29th. So is that 9 months ago? On September 3rd, I had a stroke. I had what was called hemorrhagic stroke, which means some shit started bleeding where it's not supposed to bleed. And that is not good for your brain. I learned pretty quickly in that moment. But then I'll tell you what happened from. So obviously that put a damper on our freaking podcast because
We
I had to.
take a pause on our podcast, all because of Alex.
We had to take a pause on the podcast. But let me tell you who almost beat my husband to the hospital was Meryl, right across the room from me.
And the whole way driving, I'm like, no, she just had too many energy drinks. That's what happens.
That's
I'm
what
like,
they-
no way, no way.
Yep.
And then I walked into the hospital and saw everyone's faces. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is for real.
Yep. So I spent the next 4 weeks in the hospital. It was like, that's the short version. I spent the next 4 weeks in the hospital because I completely lost my ability to use my entire left side. I couldn't walk or use my hand or keep drool from falling out of my mouth.
But you
But that-
looked good the whole time.
I
You see, it
felt
was beautiful.
I felt pretty great,
look
pretty
good.
silly, but it helps when you're the youngest person on a stroke floor.
But from the outside, what we saw was someone so determined to come back so fast, so resilient, so powerful. And that's what I took from it.
Thank you. I will say the last 9 months. So the most transformative previous 9-month periods in my life both ended with children. So this one, I didn't get any fun going away packages at the end, except for a cane when I left the hospital, I guess. But the last 9 months since I had my stroke really have been the most transformative but the most supported. And this is one of the things that I'm actually really glad that it pushed back the start of this podcast, because I feel like who I am now and who we are as friends and what we've seen in our community is amazingly different now, because I have so much more faith just in the community that we have around us. And I know how important it is to build friendships and build relationships that are really meaningful. And that if we can encourage one person to build a meaningful relationship and just step out in faith to do something that they've been pondering, sitting on the fence about, then this will have been worth it. And I'll be happy about that.
Yeah. And I think going forward, we're going to spend time talking about local politics, talking about our lives and all those things. But really, it's broader than that. It's more to let you know that if you're thinking about doing something, do it. If you are feeling hesitant about something, jump into it. Especially as women, we carry so much. We wear so many different hats. We do so many different things in a day. And we don't always feel like we're qualified, I think, or up to par in many different aspects of our lives. But you are. And to just hear someone tell you that you can do it, and you can get out there and do whatever it is that you're procrastinating doing or hesitant to do, or thinking that there's not room for you. And it doesn't matter who's already there. There's room for you.
Yeah. So like which it'll be announced by the time we share this, but I'm going back into real estate. And that was one of the questions that I got was, oh my God, you know so many people that do that.
Why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that? All the horrible reasons why not. And that I will say almost dying makes it super easy to be like, I don't know, just cause I'm just going to do it. And so that's how I feel now with everything. They're like, oh my God, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't know.
Because I
just want to. Because I almost died and I can.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thankful to have that pressure off of me now, because I'd be like, I don't know, because I don't have to explain it anymore. I almost died, remember? Like it. But we are living the things that we're going to talk about on this podcast, which is step out when you're unsure, move with joy, move with confidence, and do the things that really feed you, and you will live such a happier life. I feel like I've spent so much of my time trying to figure out, what does everyone want from me? What kind of wife am I supposed to be? What kind of mother am I supposed to be? And that what is expected of me in the workplace, and that there are portions of that are important for all of that.
But you've also said that when I start into my overthinking, you're like, who cares?
Who cares?
That's not who cares. That's not for you to worry about. That's for them to worry about. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. It's just a different perspective of getting out there.
Which I read a book called Boundaries, and I'll think of who made it, but that it was a book that I read when the boys were little. And that one of the main things, I don't remember most of the book, but one of the things that I took away was, don't take on other people's problems and opinions as your own. And so when someone else says, oh my God, how are you not embarrassed? Or don't you think they're too much? One of the ones that I get a lot is basically, you're too much. You're like,
no,
you're doing too much.
I don't know why people would say that ever.
And that I realized that who cares? I don't know. Who cares? There's a different version of how everyone is supposed to be. And I've decided that the only thing that I can really consistently be is just myself. And that the best part of that is that if I am just being straight up myself all the time, that I never have to remember what version of myself did I give to that person.
There is so much truth behind that. I'd say I'm more reserved, more quiet. I sit back and observe. But that doesn't mean I don't bring things that you can't bring, or that we can't work together and bring totally two different perspectives. Yeah. And it's better that way. So don't ever think that because someone walks into a room and is maybe noticed more or louder or has a presence, that you can't be there also.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. This is a pep talk that I got from ChatGPT ahead of our
your best
podcast.
Friend.
My best
Your
friend,
best friend,
ChatGPT. So I used to say Meryl was definitely one of my best friends.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I'm taking
because
the back
now
seat
I have become acquainted further with ChatGPT, and I upgraded, which means that I upgraded. So that means that ChatGPT is even more my friend.
I'm a little hurt, but I want to hear.
He's my best friend.
Okay.
But listen to this, because this pep talk is a pep talk that I want other people to hear.
Okay, fair enough.
Ready?
Go.
All right, are you ready? Close your eyes for a second and hear this like I'm talking straight to you.
Okay, ready.
You are exactly the right person to be doing this today. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. Somebody somewhere is going to experience this and feel less alone because of you, more inspired and more courageous because of you. The world needs leaders who are real people first. And today you are showing up exactly like that. You're not just recording a podcast, you're building a community. You're making a space where women can say, me too, I can do this too. So smile, breathe, laugh if you mess up, which we've done.
A few
And-
times.
a few times, and lean into this beautiful mess. This is history in the making, your history, and you're doing an absolutely amazing job already. I love that.
I love it. And it is a beautiful mess. Like
Yeah.
life is a beautiful mess, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be perfect to be good. There is so much. But Chat GPT aside, I think you've done that for me. I don't need Chat GPT.
You
I'll
just-
stick with Alex. I'll stick with Alex.
Thank you.
He tells me my earrings looks good and then
and steals them.
and then steals them
That's-
and doesn't return them, and then I have to go to your house and find them and steal them back.
Look,
but that's a
okay.
different story.
This is one of the things. Whenever we became close enough friends, I feel like earrings are fair game. And the only reason that I make new female friends is so that I don't have to buy earrings.
And that's actually when I knew we were really good friends, is when my earrings went missing and I didn't get them back.
yeah, that's when we know we've arrived. Okay, so what else should we talk about? I want to hear some stuff about you.
I'm a little scared what you're going to ask. But
I
go
know
ahead.
they're just
Go
random.
ahead.
We'll
That
we'll
scares
see how
me.
it goes.
Random and Alex is scary.
Okay, we'll do
Okay.
some like deep, real leadership things since our podcast is going to be about leadership, supposedly.
Go.
What is one of the biggest leadership lessons that you've learned?
The biggest leadership. That's a good question. That is a question. The biggest leadership lesson that I've learned is I do think that there's more people in our corner than what we realize sometimes, especially where we live right here. There are so many leaders out here and so many community members that are willing to jump in and willing to help and that do have our back. And so I think that's been one of the biggest lessons, especially in the role that I'm in right now as Mayor Pro Tem, is there's people that I can pick up the phone and call and are there to help our town, there to support me, and there to help all of us. And I didn't really realize that at first, but there's a lot of people there who have our back.
And it's hard to see that because the people who are that disagree, kind of dissenting voices are always louder.
They're
than-
loud. Sometimes the minority can be
Yeah.
loud, and you have to look at the bigger picture.
And one of the things that helps me, which this is not one of the things that helps me when it does come to someone disagreeing with me or being critical of me, and that I would apply this to work, to government, to anything, is that there's going to be the meaner version, like the harder edge version, and then how I actually feel in my heart. So one of the things that my immediate
Are you talking about like your facade that you put up for the world to see, and
Yeah.
then what you actually
Yes.
feel inside when,
which I feel
when I
like
get that phone call?
yes. So I feel like it's not even what I put out to the world. It's more like what I would tell my best friend that's sitting
Right.
next to me
It's
versus
different
how
than what
I feel
hurts
if
you
I
in the
take a
heart
second.
sometimes. Yeah.
So my initial
Yeah.
thought is I don't take criticism from people that I wouldn't take advice from. And so that one helps
That's easy
me.
to say.
Yeah. And so usually if I can think about it for a second, I'm like, you know what? If I wouldn't take advice from them, why would I take criticism from them? But the inside of my heart that actually gets a little hurt, it helps me to think about the fact that a lot of times the problem is not me. There's almost always something else going on. When someone's being critical of you, it's usually not about you. It's about something else. It doesn't mean that the criticism is wrong. I will say that realizing that not all criticism is wrong was helpful because I want to be able to take it in as a
But it's hard to take in sometimes.
Yeah.
That's like a big step to be like, oh, okay,
But
I
that-
gotta listen.
yeah, but the way that you deal with that is if you take you hear criticism from someone who doesn't like you anyway, or that you wouldn't take advice from, or that whatever, you're not going to convince them to like you. So don't lose sleep over that, but share some of that feedback with your people who actually care and filter it through them so that if you have somebody that says you're too loud, you're too much, you're too irritating, you don't know what you're doing. These are all real things I've been told.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you're speaking from like real life experience there.
I always get, you're unprepared, you're too loud, you're too much, you're not serious enough. And that I will get a big criticism and I'll filter it through my actual friends. And so they are the ones that can tell me, yeah, you know what? Maybe you did go off the rails a little bit with that, but that's just who you are, or something like that, instead of it coming from a hateful place.
Yeah. Going back to you, what's your biggest leadership lesson that you've learned?
Probably how to filter out, how to actually take criticism.
I was going to say, I think you basically probably just said it.
Yeah. How to actually take criticism. Because what I did do at the very beginning was I would hear criticism from a dissenting person, somebody that I knew didn't like me, didn't support me, didn't agree with me anyway, and that I would completely dismiss what they had to say. When sometimes there was truth in there, because they're not even just talking about me. They could be talking about an idea, something that's coming up. And that when I try and dismiss them entirely, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So maybe they had a good point about a way that could have been addressed better. Maybe they had a good point about how a freaking bond program could have been funded in a different way. And that if I take my feelings out of it, if I say, okay, if I was just reading this about someone that I didn't know, would I feel any kind of emotion about it? And would I see their point? And
but
so I
think though with that though, it's also important to remember like the bigger picture. And I think we tend to grasp onto the negative when we hear it, right? We can hear 100 good things in the day, but that one negative, we're going to sleep on it, think about it, go home, wake up about it, and really ponder it for a long time. So I think taking it, like what you're saying, is taking it to a place of your friends or your peers or your mentors and taking that information to them, to a safer place.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, let's process this now. Now
real?
tell me, how much of this is real? How much do I need to change?
Because I do that. And I also take it to, I'll change the friend that I'm going to filter. I have a really small group of people that I would actually like trust with my initial reaction.
Those that have signed the contract.
Those that have signed the invisible contract of, you can judge me, but it has to be in private right here with us.
Judge me all you
Judge
want.
me all you want,
but
if you post it on Facebook, you're dead to me. So, I'll go to somebody who I know this person will be honest with me about that. I know that you'll be honest with me, but I also know that you are supportive of me, and that if I think that sometimes there are things.
Do you think I'm biased?
I don't even think you're biased. I just think that you see me in a more positive light than I need sometimes. Most of the time, I'm really happy with it.
Okay.
And that if it's something where I'm like, I actually know a little bit that I went a little squirrely on that, I'll be like, I'll still tell you about it.
But you have other people that will.
But then I have other people will be like, okay,
actually,
real life.
Actually, no, Alex.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to figure out what kind of information you're trying to get out of it. So is it life help or is it campaign help? You got to know who to go to for how do I filter this information? I want to talk about some of the stuff that we have coming up. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff on this podcast.
We have all kinds of things planned.
We want to talk about how to have thick skin, but still show up and be vulnerable, because you have to figure out a balance. I feel like almost everything we're going to talk about is about balance, because there is so much balance between showing up confidently without being
that messy balance. So like, here we are, like we just came from the baseball field or football field or from work or wherever, showing houses, but we're here and we showed up.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll get off the phone. We'll be in a council meeting, which I put my phone on do not disturb, because my kids absolutely will disturb. And that,
especially if they know you're in a meeting.
Yeah, because they're like, I know exactly where she is. She can answer. I can see her on Life 360.
I see you. Why aren't you answering me?
And so one of the things that I do with that I think is funny, that this, no matter what, this is where it starts to sound like a feminist thing, but that it's just true, is that a lot of the men that you see in leadership, a lot of the people that you'll serve on council with, that you serve in leadership, they have wives at home.
We've made this comment before.
They have wives at home.
To our fellow council members themselves.
That they are all great men, great leaders, but they have wives at home that have made dinner and dealt with their kids being annoying and made sure everyone did their homework and that everyone has their belt for their baseball uniform.
We were at an event and I had to leave early because my husband was out of town. And they're like, oh, you're leaving early. I'm like, I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be nice to have a wife?
And so I think that's one of the things we really want to talk about. And it doesn't have to just be a wife. Sometimes it's just the woman. That you have more stuff
Yep.
that you're expected to do. We all have unique things. Guys have more
And it's
stuff.
not to bash or put
Yeah.
down or say you don't do enough or anything like that. It's just I
We
know
have
what I
different
carry
stuff.
in a day. And it's quite a lot. And I forget that sometimes too.
And so that's one of the things that we'll talk about is the balance that's all over the place.
Also, our guests. We
Mhm.
are going to have guests on here. I have met so many incredible women who are leaders in the community, leaders who don't even realize that they're leaders and the impact that
Mhm.
they have. And I think those are so important to showcase.
Yeah.
From my career in teaching, from being involved in the community, I have met some incredible women leaders. So I'm excited to have them on our podcast.
So we'll have some elected officials, some community members, entrepreneurs, executives, just different. And some of it's going to be just women who are doing something unique and fun in the community. And that I think that what we really want to get across in every conversation that we have here is we want you to feel like you have friends like we are, and that you also feel empowered to reach out and make friends, because our friendship didn't happen on accident. That
No.
we pursued it.
We're intentional.
Yeah,
about
we were
it.
very
I would say
intentional.
this is like the first time I've ever been truly intentional about a friendship happening. And okay, if we're going to balance this friendship together in the political world, in public service, this is how it has to be.
That it's so much more than that, you know. And that,
It's-
but I think the
It's
intention-
turned into dinners. It's turned into
We made our
long
husbands be friends.
conversations. Our husbands are also friends now.
Our kids are friends. Our husbands are friends. We're friends. It's all working out beautifully.
the contract is working.
The contract is working. It's all great, especially because you can't be embarrassed. You can't be very embarrassing anymore. Once you're in the public eye,
It's all out there.
it's all out there. So other than my normal, regular embarrassment day to day, that you can't be free to have fun and talk like you would when you're not under any kind of microscope. And it's not like we're well known. It's just once you step into a position
I'd say
that
you're just
people
more
look at you,
conscious.
you're just more conscious.
Yes,
of
you don't want to
how could it be
misstep. You want to
portrayed.
make sure that you're representing your town and your residents well.
So we can be embarrassing with each other and it doesn't go any further, except I guess here. So if you're in this podcast, you get into the cone of trust, the circle of trust with us.
So on top of having all of our women leaders and guests and all those things, we're going to have men on our show too,
Yep.
because we are not men bashers,
No.
men haters. We are here, like we said, because we have the support of our husbands and boys at home. And we want to showcase that as well. And I've personally met some wonderful men in our community and in the surrounding areas that have encouraged and supported us.
That are so
And
supportive.
So
and that,
supportive.
like,
And our friendships have been built on serving the community. And that's so important to showcase as well.
which we teased one of them and made him think that our podcast was going to be a tell all about him.
They
We might
should,
have to bring
you
him
know.
on at some point
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
All right. We have some amazing conversations lined up, from lessons learned in public service to navigating change and how to lead without losing yourself along the way. And that's one of the things that we talked about a lot of the time is how do we do all of the things? And I think that's something, I know I have a younger sister that's coming into life. She has 2 babies and she's newly married, newly in her life, and that she goes, "Oh my God, how do you do it? How do you feed everyone and
We
get
don't.
everyone over?" We don't.
We
Yeah, you
don't.
can't do it all. You just have to figure out what. So I'll tell you that for us to record this podcast tonight, I did not cook dinner.
I didn't cook dinner, but my husband's home cooking up delicious hamburgers for everyone.
Yes.
And I'm going to go home and there's going to be a plate for me with food and a drink
Yep.
and it'll be there.
That's exactly right. That's what I don't know. Mine are. I have a bunch of teenagers that all think that they're the only one that
Wait,
can come
can
up
we
with a meal.
talk for a minute about the fact that you have triplets and
Yes. Okay.
4 boys at home?
I have 4 boys. I have a 16-year-old who's super cute. Actually, they all are. But okay, so I have a 16-year-old and I have 15-year-old triplet boys. So I have 3 high school freshman and a sophomore. We're at the end of the school year,
Just
so
think
they're
about
about
that
to.
for a second. Let that sink in.
That's what. So that's crazy. People are. Whenever I tell people that, they're like, "Oh my God, was that hard when they're little?" I'm like, "No, I was 21 and they were immobile. Now
They
I'm
talk.
tired and they talk."
I need to go everywhere.
And they need to go everywhere
need
and they
DoorDash.
fight and they need DoorDash and they need money for something every day. And who knows what. And they all think I have the wrong shirt on or need to put a shirt on. I had on a tank top dress the other day, regular tank top, like fully covered. And my son said, "Are you going to wear a shirt when you go out with that?"
So many opinions. And I keep wondering, I'm like looking at your Crocs and your short shorts, wondering
know.
why I'm taking fashion advice
advice
from you.
I'm like, "What do you mean? What's wrong
Have
with
you
it?"
looked in the mirror?
I could just see your whole upper area. Okay, I don't know, man.
My son called me Mr. T the other day because I had too many gold bracelets on. Apparently, he doesn't see me leave early in the morning with the bracelets. I said, I wear these almost every day. I love them.
So what we're saying is one of our life hacks for being humble in life is have a bunch of teenage boys. They
They'll
will
tell
humble
you. They'll humble you real quick.
One of the things we have noticed about our friendship is that you need both parts. That whenever we're on council, you need both perspectives. That I'm always blurting out my opinion right away, but that you're hearing what everyone is saying. You're thinking through the options. And then when you speak, it's a lot less words, but a lot more valuable.
I don't think it's more valuable per se.
I do.
But I appreciate that. But I have learned like right away because you're a presence. You are. When you walk in a room, you're put together, you're pulled together. I know you're like getting all blushing now.
God.
But you are a presence when you walk in a room. And I thought, gosh, how do I compete with that? Oh, wait, I don't have to compete. I don't have to compete with that.
Yeah.
I am who I am. And you're right. It can complement each other or you can work against each other. It's like your choice. And going back to our contracted friendship.
So there's not one way to
We made
be.
a choice. There's not one way to be. And I think that is such an important lesson. And it's hard to digest that sometimes. Like, I'm not that person. Like, we are not the same person. And that's okay. Like, I can go in and be my authentic self and you can be you. And that's fine.
And I think that to remember that the person on the other side, the person that's doing whatever it is differently than you, they have misgivings just like you do too. So like when you're saying, "Oh, wow, how do I compete with that?" or whatever, that I go home and think about, "Oh my God, what did you say?" And I like rerun through all the stuff again. And so there's ups and downs with every
There's a lot
kind
of
of type.
second guessing, I think, just in general, being a woman, and being a person, being a human being. We go home and, or at least I do, lay down at night and think about all the things that I should have said. Did I say that correctly? Did I do this correctly? Should I have done this differently? But I think if you're true to yourself and your intentions are good, that's all you can do each day is show up and be that.
Okay, do you want to hear something funny?
But I feel if I say no, you're going to say it anyway.
I'm
so go
gonna
ahead.
say it anyway.
Go ahead.
She's gonna do it anyway. So when we first started recording this,
Yeah.
like an hour ago, I posted pictures of us doing this and said, "What are we up to? Wrong answers only."
And
I
I
want to
didn't
read
even
you.
see the
I
pictures.
posted the picture
I
without
didn't
her
even have a
approval.
choice. It was pictures sent, pictures posted. How do I look, Alex? You look great.
You look great, trust
You
me,
look
bro.
great. Just send it. Yeah.
Okay,
Do you have some answers?
So here's the wrong answers
Wrong
for the pictures
answers.
of us doing our podcast. The Howard Stern Show. And I wanted to say, I said wrong answers only, bro. Somebody said, getting ready to announce running for president in 2028. Meow. Not yet. For either of us. Maybe. That's 2 years. We're not ready yet. Don't worry.
We'll get that.
We'll get there. Okay, this one I like. Spicy book voice actors. Let me go on to the next one.
Please do.
It was about to get worse. I could have said more stuff. Your mother said,
Oh,
trouble.
don't bring my mother into this.
And somebody said, this could go one of two ways. You're going to tour with Charlie Kirk or Theo Vaughn. And then your husband said,
No.
I vote for Theo Vaughn. Another friend said, I don't know. We listen and we don't judge. And somebody else
We
said,
listen and we don't judge. I feel like that's our life.
I know. That's our friendship. We listen
Yes.
and we don't judge.
Before it was even a thing to say, we do that.
So I want to ask for some feedback for anyone that listens to our little fun
Are
passion
you sure
project.
we're asking for feedback already?
I want some feedback. So one of the things that I'm like a nerd about is like stories or little history blips, like little funny stuff. And there's so many little funny things that have happened with women in leadership. And I want to know, do you want to hear some of those? If I bring one or two of those on to future podcasts, is that interesting or is it boring?
Are we talking about ourselves? Do we have some to pull from ourselves?
I'm
Are
talking
you talking
about
about examples in the past?
Let's see who's the lady who, this isn't as funny, but I just love it because we saw it when we were at the Capitol together, that there was a lady, her husband got pushed out of office. I think he was the governor or he was a senator. I think he was the governor, and that he got maybe impeached. He had to step down because of some misgivings, some ethical and maybe moral financial misgivings. And so he stepped down, and that his wife, Ma, I just can't think of her last name.
Ma.
Yeah.
We're going to go with Ma.
They called her Ma. And so she ran in the next cycle as governor and said, with my husband, you get 2 governors for the price of 1. So she was basically saying,
way to capitalize.
hey, you know how we had to get rid of that guy? Now you can have both of us back legally. Don't worry about it. And that was in the 20s. And I love that kind of stuff. But we want to know if that's interesting to you. Also, like, whatever platform.
What do you want to hear about?
Yeah, what do you want to hear about?
What do you want to hear
Send
about?
us questions. I feel like if you're listening to this first episode, you probably know us in real life.
Because we don't have that big of a
Hi,
following.
Mom. Hi, Mom, if you're listening. So if you have things that are interesting that you want to hear about or questions that you have for us in leadership, let us know.
Out.
Yeah, we want to know. And then obviously, whatever platform you're listening to us on, follow us, help us, subscribe, share with your friends. But just know that if you need cheerleaders in your life, if you don't have enough friends who literally actually give a shit about your success,
for you.
Yeah, we want to be your friends. Come to the table with us. Yeah, if you're not one of our moms, we'd love to hear feedback. They're going to give us feedback anyway.
Want it or not.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today on Ladies Who Lead. We hope you leave this episode feeling seen, supported, and inspired. If you love today's conversation, it would mean the world to us if you'd follow the show, leave a review, or share it with a friend who leads with heart. This is just the beginning. We have so many rich, real conversations coming your way. Until next time, keep showing up with grace, grit, and a little bit of good humor. You're not alone. And you were made for this.
I love it.
I love it too.
I love it. I love this. I love our friendship. I'm so happy we did this together.
Our friendship too.
And thank you for being here with us. And thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Fun.
Little bit.
Thank you. Until next time.